All righty, we're gonna get going if everybody's good to go.
Sounds good.
All
Yep.
right, calling the meeting to order 2 p.m. on February 24th. This is going to be a agenda for special selectmen's meeting in regards to the budget. At this time, we have any citizen comments? If we do have any citizen comments, you're more than happy to unmute and make said comments. All right, I don't see any comments today. All right, so we'll go right into it. Budget reviews, discussion, revisions, possible actions. So, Bill, I guess we'll go page by page
Sure.
and quickly bang it out. I know there's a couple things that I have. I'm sure the other two selectmen's probably have a couple things. I'm not looking to
Sure.
reinvent the wheel on this meeting. As always, I'm about efficiency and simply getting the job at hand done. So,
Right.
with that being said, let's do it.
Sure. So we'll start on the Board of Finance page, Department 1101.
And what's the page number on that?
The page
9.
number is if you look in the upper left-hand corner of each page, the department numbers are there, and they're numerical, so it's 1101, but it would be
Oh,
page
yep.
9.
I see it. I
Yep.
see it.
Oops.
Perfect.
So this budget, this is where the audit fee lives, and that I believe is the significant driver of the 3.5% increase.
Yep.
It's a 5% increase with King and King. As you can see in the other lines, the only other increase was 3% for the recording secretary's salary, and then there was actually a reduction of 450 in printing and publication.
Cool.
Any proposed adjustments there? Otherwise, we'll move on to Board of Selectmen.
I have no adjustments there.
Larry, Jeff,
No,
all right.
Nope.
thank you.
Budget 1102, Board of Selectmen, a 2.72% increase. Once again, salaries for the second and third selectmen at 3%. And then town dues and memberships were up slightly for $354. Not a heck of a lot to work with there. Any proposed adjustments there?
No,
Negative.
Okay, moving on
Do
to
we do Bill? Do we really need a $131 difference? You know, if we're trying to save a couple pennies, do we really need that extra 3%?
you guys can propose an adjustment if you'd like. The spirit of that has been that just like with all the other, and especially it really relates more to the first selectman role. If that salary never increases, it's just some would consider it possibly another negative towards getting that role filled. So that's why the 3% was applied to all the selectmen.
Yeah, I think it would be very unproductive of you to continue to professionalize the roles to go backwards. So I would not support that. You're more than happy to make a motion on that. We can vote on it though.
No, I'll let it slide for now.
Okay. Well, it's not gonna be for now. So if
Oh
if you want to act on it, we can. But
no, we're good right now. You know, if
okay,
Board of
okay,
Finance comes back and says we need to make cuts, I
Right.
suggest we start there.
yep,
You know, it's not a big chunk of change, but you know, it's something.
Right.
yeah.
Um, Next department is 1201, first selectman. Here we see an 11.5% increase, primarily driven by an increase in the first selectman line related to professionalizing the role. And the other, we actually have actually, it's mostly decreases in this line related to the HR director's salary. And then there's a couple of minor puts and takes of 15 and $100. But that's the significant driver of this department.
Bill, on the HR director's position, is that someone that isn't new in the position?
That's
No.
Marie, isn't it? Correctly?
So the story there is previously we had Michelle Giamarinaro, who was a split resource between the school and the town.
Yep.
Michelle was unfortunately let go as part of last year's budget cuts. So
Right.
instead, this year we have the responsibilities are split, where you have Paula and Marie at the town splitting those responsibilities, and up at the school, it's divided between Danielle, the superintendent's secretary, and Patrick, the payroll clerk. So there was some talk you guys may have heard at one of the last Board of Finance meetings that ultimately that $17,000 would be pushed to both Paula and Marie's salary respectively. But that wasn't acted on. So for now, that $17,000 lives there.
Placeholder.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, it's a little bit of a savings over when Michelle was here. I will say there's a fair amount of risk in not having someone in that HR role, but it was a hard decision that had to be made last year. But that's not really the point of this meeting. So anyway, those are the main drivers there in first selectman.
Just clarification, Bill. Thank you.
Yep, sure.
And just so you guys know that is separated between a couple of different people because they have absorbed those duties as HR assistant. I can speak
Yep.
for Marie. Marie spends probably 10 to 20 hours a week doing HR stuff on top of the normal expectation of her duties.
Yep.
So, as far as the 85 on the first selectman, I'll speak to that because I think I need to speak to it. I do anticipate the Board of Finance cutting that a bit. Um, but it is in my belief and firm function that we do eventually need to move to professionalize this role to a town administrator or town manager. And all things aside, contrary to popular belief, the first selectman's role isn't a 20 or 30-hour week position. It's a 45 to 60-hour a week position. And, you do that math, it equals out to about $23 an hour. That being said, it's the lowest paid department head and one of the lowest paid admin positions on our entire payroll. So, that's my personal feeling on that. Um, if anybody has any comments, concerns, anything like that, I'd be happy to answer those questions.
Personally, I think it's been long overdue. We've been talking about a town manager for years, and I think this moves closer to it. And I think that more discussion is to come.
Yep. And like I said, I do anticipate, is 85 not the number? No, probably not. Is 75 or, somewhere between 75 and 80 the number this year? I think that's probably realistic, but I'm gonna, as a courtesy to Board of Finance, I'm gonna put that in their hands.
Yep.
Any proposed changes to first selectman budget 1201?
Negative.
Okay.
I'm good.
Nope. I'm good.
Data processing, 1202, 6.7% increase. I'm sorry, decrease, excuse me. That's a key difference. And this really came from Heather Burns and Marie scrubbing through our contracts, eliminating some software. There was a save that Travis in IT found, I believe, related to some network switches. He was able to find a way to work around some things that needed to happen. So a heck of a job there by the team to come in at a almost 7% cut. Any adjustments there?
Negative.
Oh, very
Nope,
good.
I think we're good.
Finance and treasurer, budget 1301, normal salary adjustments. And beyond that, no changes actually. So a 2.56% increase in total to the budget.
I got no
Any
changes
adjustment?
on that.
Yep. No comments.
Thanks, guys. Budget 1302, tax collector. Let me adjust the screen a little bit here. So a 4.7% increase. Line, see, line 11, travel was up. I believe that was because Scott has two people that are pursuing their tax collector designations. And at the moment, the town vehicle isn't fit for long trips. So it's really an increase in mileage reimbursement. Professional services, I believe that's an increase in postage related to the tax bill vendor actually doing the mailing, which ends up being a net savings. There's an offset over in the selectmen's budget, I believe, or it might be the town hall building budget where postage decreased. So those are the main fluxes there. Any adjustments?
No comments. All
Nope,
good.
think we're good.
Negative.
Okay, 1303, the assessor, a 2.99% increase. Salaries at normal 3%. Slight increase to the GIS mapping software, which is for those maybe in the audience who aren't familiar. There, you can go look at the plot map on the town website. Paul actually switched vendors last year out of savings to NECOG, and this is the increase related to their current fee schedule. A little flip down below at the bottom of this page between office supplies and books and periodicals.
Mhm.
I have no changes.
No,
All
no
right.
changes.
Board of Assessment Appeals, very small budget here. It's basically salaries, and they actually eliminated office supplies because that board is just drawing any office supplies they need, which is minimal from the assessor's office. Any changes?
None.
Nope. Very-
1401 elections in registrar. Primary increases here are related to staffing and obviously a increased number of referendums, and we've also got early voting to contend with. We've received some funding in the form of grants, typically around $10,000 related to early voting. Not every election is early voting eligible, but what I've seen is those 2 weeks of early voting for eligible elections can run 20 to 25,000 bucks because you're fully staffing for 2 straight weeks. It's an incredibly high cost that isn't fully offset by the state, and it's a song that we've all heard many times before. So I guess we could call this one partially funded mandate, but not close to
Yeah,
covering the
it's
full cost.
fixed cost. Yeah, I don't see any
Yeah.
changes that we can really make
No.
on that.
Well, there was discussion on trying to combine our voting locations.
Yeah, which
Uh,
we're gonna move on, but we gotta propose an ordinance change to do that. So that comes before the budget change.
yep. I just don't want it to get lost.
No, it definitely won't get lost. I have had detailed conversation with a lot of people in the entire building and with pretty much everybody on this call, I would say too.
Yep.
So I think we can definitely go down to at least drop one location, and then go to, centralized library, town hall at the library, and then East Thompson's the only question. We do have to have Quinnebog because of our congressional districts. We do have two congressional districts, so there was a thought that we could combine East into the centralized location. But
Yep.
yeah, yeah. So I think
Okay.
next town meeting we should have that ordinance changed, queued up, ready to go. Because that will
Right.
save about, I think we calculated we'll save 15 grand ish.
Yep.
So
Yep.
Any adjustments on 1401 elections and registrar?
Nope.
Nope.
negative.
Town clerk, budget department 1501, 3.68% increase. Outside of salaries, you can see in the middle of the page here, there's a few minor increases, partially offset by a reduction in travel. The increases, I'm trying to recall. Oh, I think there's an increase in cost on that the vendor that provides some of these indexing services. Gail had provided, that's that $1,000 there.
Yeah. I don't have any changes to that.
Nope.
I'm
All
good.
set, Jeff?
Yep.
Town council, budget 1701. We do see a significant increase here, 50%. And that's really adjusting to what we've seen in terms of an increased run rate and actual spend, um, related to, it's really general town and some labor related matters lately. This is one department that we may be slightly over budget in fiscal 26. So we were trying to react accordingly. You see, we've got a $10,000 increase in legal general town and 5,000 in labor. So you know, you could take a look at that and possibly trim them back. Um, just keep in mind that the reason it was increased was based on what we're seeing in terms of actuals. But there is a little bit of room maybe to think about these two lines.
How about in past years, Bill? Was fiscal 2025?
I think we came in under budget.
Yeah,
Some of those things are, it's kind of inherently lumpy in that you may go a few years without any legal related matters.
Yep.
And
right.
then
Yeah.
and then you
Now,
may
Bill,
have a couple. It's tough.
Bill, real
Yep.
quick, the labor matters legal,
Yep.
would that have been potentially less with an HR director, or is that it
Um,
still be included?
I, I,
Just
I,
thinking.
yeah, I know, I understand what you're saying. It's a good question, Jeff, because we've seen with an HR person, the savings from a legal perspective more have to do with things like writing personnel related letters and the like. The
Yep.
costs that are driving this overage aren't those types of costs.
Okay.
But broadly, you're right on point, especially at Board of Ed.
Yep.
We've seen an increasing. Unfortunately, if you don't have an HR director, very often you have to go to your attorney for
Right.
personnel related things, and then their hourly rate was quite a bit larger than Michelle's.
Yep. Yep. All right.
And we've seen an uptick too, you know, the referendums, yeah,
Yep.
yeah, the people challenging the town on certain
Yep.
things. So yeah,
Oh yeah.
I think that's something that I would probably refer to Board of Finance. I think there's probably a little trim there, maybe 5 grand. Um,
Right.
but uh I don't know. I think I'm gonna hold on that. I personally am gonna hold on that one for right now.
I'm good holding just because of the 26 projection of being around 32. So,
Right.
Yeah.
if
Yeah,
we continue in this trend, then we're going to hit that 30. Or if we cut, we're going to be asking for money from somewhere else
agreed.
if we can.
Agreed.
All
Okay.
right. Moving on to probate clerk 1702. This one's very straightforward, as I'm sure you guys heard from the Board of Finance meeting. The probate judge comes in and there's a per capita charge, and that's what drove the increase for this year. We unfortunately don't have a lot of discretion there. They kind of have a monopoly on
Yeah.
probate
Right.
services, so we don't have anywhere to go.
I do remember bringing up that each group that came in had a different population number for us.
Yep,
So I think we really need to dig in and figure out where they should be deciding what our actual population is, so everybody's the same on a per capita you know set.
sure.
But that's outside of their hands right now. So maybe something we look into for next year.
Okay.
Agreed.
Make a note. All right. Town Hall building budget 1801. A 2% increase. Again, Marie digging in on this one and trying to hold it pretty steady. You've got a 3% increase on the evening custodian salary, and then you see a bunch of puts and takes in professional and technical services netting down to a a $1,900 increase. Um, the largest increase, I believe, had to do with, yeah, the alarms and the monitoring.
Yeah, and we're looking into that, so hopefully but that's nothing in the next 90 days that's gonna change, so
Okay.
So Bill Birch is going to be retiring in December. There's going to be a new maintenance facilities manager for the school. there's been discussion about combining that position with a facilities person for the town buildings. We have a spot for it. I think we need someone to take care of our buildings because it's costing us money in the long run. Preventing maintenance isn't being done. So,
Yeah, I've definitely had conversation. That is the plan moving forward.
but we need to have a placeholder at least for a budget number in that position on line 6.
Okay. Bill, do you want to do a little back end on that and talk to Melinda?
Sure. Are you guys proposing we add money to the budget for that placeholder now?
Well, to be honest, I think like, although I think it may need to be done, I don't even know what that looks like. If she had a different
Right.
intention of shared
Sure.
cost or if it
Yep.
was how it was gonna be broken up. So
Right.
I
Yeah,
would
I can.
say that we gotta have some communication first before we do anything on that.
Sure.
Yep. But at least we get the conversation going, Nick.
Yeah, oh, I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. 100% in agreement.
Just let me make a note.
At least if we put a budget number in there shared, and I agree with you, Nick. I believe it's going to be shared with the school,
Yeah.
because that makes the most sense. I think we
Probably an
get the
80-20
bang,
split, I would assume.
right, bang for our buck.
Yeah.
But at least if we put a line item in there, and where it goes, who knows?
So just so you guys know, I mean it over this meeting or a series of meetings, whatever you guys see fit, your adjustments will become the Board of Selectmen proposed budget, which then goes off to the Board of Finance. So if you don't make your adjustments in this meeting or the following meetings, it'll be up to the Board of Finance to drop that in. So if you're thinking 80-20 split and you want to go and you want to have a number in there, I would say you'd probably want to go between 20 and $30,000.
I
Uh,
was kind of thinking 30 myself.
yeah. So so if that's once again, that's completely up to the board. But that's something that if you want to influence that or use it to drive the discussion, we should probably make a motion and get it in there. Otherwise, we can suggest to the Board of Finance, but then it'll be completely up to them.
I'll make that motion then, Bill.
Okay.
$30,000 maintenance supervisor to be shared with the school.
Okay.
I'll second it so we can put it to conversation. So we have it in the conversation phase. I guess there would be some cost savings here on the building officials side because he's doing all of that now. So if he could focus more on permits and in his exact job. I guess although it would be a 30,000 increase on one side, I think we'd be able to see him because I know he's asking for an assistant and whatnot. So I
Correct.
think he would probably see a little bit more usable hours. I'm not talking a lot, but maybe 5 or 8 hours a week,
Yep.
where he wouldn't have to worry about the library and worry about the town hall building. I don't know. Do you guys have any opinion?
No, I think that makes sense.
Jeff, do you
And
have any opinion? Because I do value your opinion.
No, I think it makes sense. I think I don't mind putting it in, but I think the issue is we don't know what the plan is with the school at the moment.
I agree.
You
I
know,
agree.
I think as a placeholder, I think it makes sense.
Okay.
Obviously, with the bill leaving in December, that means it's a half year position versus a full year. Do we set it as a 30,000 for a full year?
What do you mean?
And
What do you mean a part-time position?
I'm not saying
Uh,
part time. I'm saying it's a half year position because if Bill's leaving in December,
oh, correct,
that means
correct.
it's
Yes.
January to June.
Understood.
Do we
Understood.
propose it?
Understood.
Do we propose it as the start? As a 15 to 18 for fiscal 27, but 28, have it noted that it's 30 for
Yeah.
28.
Yeah.
Good point. Yep.
Bill, can
It's
you
one
weigh
thing
in
if it
on
was a
that?
full year.
No, I think that's fine. I know they from what I have heard on the BOE side, they're trying to get someone in there sooner rather than later.
Okay.
Because as you would imagine, Bill Birch has a lot of a lot of knowledge to pass along.
Yes.
Well, Bill, and I think with that, I think it's best for them to have him for that half year, just so
Gotcha.
he
Yep.
understands that whole system on the school side.
All righty. So do we want to adjust that from 30 to 15 or?
I'll adjust it to, I'll amend my motion
Okay.
to 15,000 for a half year with the caveat that it's noted on the budget as a half year position, starting in December,
Okay.
or the first of the year. That way the Board of Finance will know that we'll be asking for more money for that position for next year.
Okay. I'll second that. Any further conversation about that before we take a vote?
Nope.
Showing no further
I'm good.
conversation. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
I
Aye.
Unanimous.
Any other changes to town hall building?
Negative.
Nope.
All right,
I'm good.
budget 2201 fire marshal, an 18% increase driven by the addition of a second deputy fire marshal at about $8,300. I think that's actually the only increase in this budget other than the 3% for everyone else. It's line 2.
I would say so that's for line
The
2.
deputy.
So we were at 8,000. We want to double it to about 16.5.
Correct.
Mm,
What's the reasoning on that?
just because their workload is increased and due to the proposed or whatnot, all the building that's going on, they're going to have to be further
That's right.
utilized.
That's right. Yep.
So a lot
That's
of the
right.
stuff, he's doing a lot of work for free right now. So I think this is just to kind of balance out a lot of that too. So
Okay.
um do I think 16.5 is the number? I don't know. I wouldn't mind shaving a tiny bit off of this. I don't know. What do you guys think?
Uh, how many hours a week is this part-time person supposed to work?
It's all
Do we know?
contract per diem work, so I can't speak to that exactly. I don't know if Bill Stuglitz has any info there.
I'm not, hold on just a second. Just so you guys know, Paul is in the room with me here. So
Yep.
if you hear it tapping away in the background, but no. I had a question for you, Paul, actually. How many hours does Dino work?
It's not.
It's as needed.
He is a stipend,
Yep.
monthly stipend, so he
Okay.
could work 10 one week and he could work 2 the next.
Gotcha.
You know what I'm
Did
saying?
you guys hear that?
So
Yes.
I
Yeah.
have no idea as to like how to say how many hours.
Oh, so it's a stipend fixed position.
Right.
Correct.
Okay. So that changes a lot. So,
Yep.
Yeah, yep.
okay. Well, then I withdraw my cut.
Okay.
Hmm.
Any other adjustments to 2201?
I have no further adjustments.
Moving on to fire departments, 2202. 61% increase here, driven primarily by an increase in the per department grant from around 72, if I remember last year, to 200,000 per department this year, as well as an increase in Putnam EMS related costs and the increase in the paramedic ambulance fee that is also specified by NECOG down on line 19.
I don't have anything for paramedic, ambulance, or NECOG. Those are fairly fixed costs. I do propose that we, for fire department funding, we get a little bit of, I don't know, unique with this, where I think we should give them, we'll say, 120 a year per department, and then an extra 50 per department goes into a capital purchases only account. So apparatus, equipment, infrastructure improvement to stations, which will then be approved by the Board of Finance. I don't know what the procedure is for that. But
So what would happen there? Um, this line would be reduced to 600,000 and the other 400,000 would be added to the capital page as a I guess we could call it fire department capital fund.
yeah.
What that does for everybody on the line is it maintains Board of Finance control over expenditure of those funds. Whereas otherwise, if it's included in the town, the fire department grant, once that money leaves the town, it is 100% at the control of the individual departments.
So I guess my proposal is we do that to start off, at a sum of 50,000 per department, and deduct 50,000 from the line item of their general budget as in the grants. And then I realistic conversation as far as the team goes. Do we want to be at 150 for grants right now? So do we want to go from 83 to 150 that they're going to directly get, or do we have the opportunity or capability to dial that in a little? Larry and Jeff, your time to shine.
Fire department's tough.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd almost send it with
You
our change to with the 50 in the
okay?
capital per
Okay.
there, kind of, you know, in the end, let the Board of Finance take the
Okay.
reins on that.
I support that.
Because I think they need it as much as the
I
rest of the town needs what we, for
I,
funding. So
I agree. I agree wholeheartedly. They need it. You know, I don't know if we need to look at operational need also. I know there's some departments that do a lot more calls and have a lot more operational need for funding than others. So I think
That I will agree with.
that's
yeah,
something that like West compared to other, you know, other fire departments have the least amount of members, and I would say arguably the least amount of calls. So to
yeah,
argue that they're going to get 150 when you have a department that has twice as many calls and twice as much apparatus, I think
yeah.
that's a conversation that needs to be had. Um,
Well,
you
I
know,
think if we see Board of Finance making a cut, we can maybe look into that, and
okay,
make some changes there.
okay. You know, because
Uh,
there will come a time where we're going to have to have the conversation of operational need in what logistically we can afford.
Right.
Um,
Yep.
and I'm not a proponent of closing fire stations, but I guarantee if you were to do a present day study on resources and applications and stations, I'm sure that it would tell you a story that contradicts uh the argument to not close stations. So I think that's something that we need to continue to, work on. And I am very vigilant in getting everybody together and making people more efficient in getting people to work as a team, as departments. But I will say it, I'm not gonna publicly call out any one department, but it's been a challenge. So
Okay.
and
Yeah.
I find it from a business standpoint, I find it very hard to support aspects of a sinking ship that won't simply help themselves and show up, um but just be given money.
Yep.
So
Nope.
that's when it comes to safety too. So I will publicly say that. But again, I do appreciate the job that they all do, but I hope that that it's noted that we do need to look at it. So I would say we can make a motion to do that capital account, $50,000 per um station, deduct that from their operational budget and put it into a capital Board of Finance controlled option. I have a motion for that on the floor made by myself. Do I have a second?
I'll
I'll
second.
second that.
All
Yep.
right, we have second. Do we have any further discussion?
Just that
Now,
the operational need, Nick, is absolutely on point. And I'd rather have the fire stations that do the heavy lifting get more of what they deserve. So,
yeah.
point well taken.
Noted.
Nick, can I make a point to the capital fund?
Absolutely, sir.
Do we have to split it out 50 per, or can we kind of leave it open to, saying if one of them needs a
How about
bigger
if we do
unit?
just an amount?
Well,
Yeah,
so
I'd say,
I guess the procedure is so they're going to each put 50 in, but that doesn't give each department 50. What they'll then do is they'll come to the Board of Finance and they'll request a capital improvement. Now,
yeah,
it will be based off the vote of the Board of Finance and probably us, but they could get totally more than that. So say if someone needed an engine replacement, although
right.
each fire department is paying into 50, that is not
Yeah,
necessarily their only 50. One year, West could get 200,000. The next year, East could get,
yeah.
50,000. Like there's no set of who exactly gets what. It's going to be about operational need.
Yeah, I'd say we got to leave it open to, you know, what needs are,
Yes,
not, because let's
100%.
put it this way. We're not
Yep.
technically, while we're technically pulling 50 out of each department, it's still a $250,000 unit
Yep.
that's all on its
Yep.
own. That
Yep.
really isn't tied to any of them because in the end,
Correct.
it's the town's money, not the fire department's money.
100%. So this is just really promotes that team atmosphere, that working together as one across the
Yep.
five lines, that we're going to work together to rise everybody rather than just thinking about ourselves. So we still have a lot of acuity where that money goes after the fact, but think of this as an insurance policy that when you put a request in, then you can then cash in on it. So it's for everybody.
Yep.
So I just want to make that clear.
Yep.
All right.
All right, so I'll take a vote on it. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous. Bill, you have those. I know that was kind of a lot we threw at you, but
Got it. Just give me 1 second, guys, because I have to go mess with the capital page.
Yep.
do your thing, fella.
We got to take a walk all the way to the other end of the spreadsheet.
Sorry.
Oh, wait a minute.
Hmm.
All right, we're back. Any other changes to fire departments?
Negative on my end.
No.
All right. Moving on to 2301, emergency management. 2% increase here. I think if I remember right, Steve had $90 in training.
Yeah, and they've gotten a lot of grant money over the last year, and they're getting some more coming down the line. So I have no changes on their budget.
Yeah. I think that was related to word on the street is that the constables are kind of really coming to life, and that has some training. I guess it's training dollars for them.
Yes.
All right. Budget 230X. Yes, you can have a letter in a department number.
There you go.
This is security project at the BOE. This is historically a $60,000 contribution that the town makes towards the school security costs.
Yep.
As you can see on the schedule, hasn't gone up in years, and Melinda and the Board of Ed send their thanks for the continued support.
Yep, I fully support security at the school, so I don't, that's a necessity. That is not a want, that is a need. I have zero
Yep.
cuts on that line.
Same here.
Now, Bill, that is that just like an addition to the school's budget on that, or are we paying for pretty much what they use?
Uh, that is it, it actually sort of acts like a transfer about halfway through the year once they have incurred over $60,000 worth of cost.
Yep.
I transfer that up and it offsets it. It's not we don't double count it at the school. We at the school we
Right, right,
budget
right.
for the incremental cost above the 60 grand.
Yep. Okay. So we're sharing costs with the school, is what you're saying.
Right. Right.
Okay.
All right. Because I guess you could also look at it as very often the school security guys are there if there are town related functions at the school. The
Yeah.
security staff are there too. It's not to the tune of 60,000, and that's not the full intent of that 60,000, but
Right.
it is definitely sort of town related costs, if you will. All right, moving on
Yep.
to K9 operations 2401, 9.5% increase, primarily driven by the addition of a per diem ACO to cover Brianna's vacations or if she's away. That's line 12, an increase of about 2750.
Yep.
And then some additional maintenance and repair items. General repairs, some cameras need to be replaced, general replacement equipment, the building of a catio, which is sort of an indoor-outdoor space for cats, and some repairs to the donation shed that years ago had been moved up from Riverside Park. Unfortunately, that shed isn't weather tight. So anything that's stored in there gets ruined. But that drove the $1,250 increase on line 19.
I still see it as a cheaper option than NECOG with much better coverage. As many of you might or might not know, we did put I think $1,800 for a per diem animal control officer last year's budget. We have yet to utilize it. We did conduct interviews. I'm in the process of doing background checks. I should have an offer to someone by the end of the week. Um, so I had put that in thinking that not only it will cover the cost of training, but give us a little bit more opportunity to have that individual in, which is a absolute necessity at this point. To expect someone to work, 24 hours a day, 365, is unrealistic. And furthermore, we do not have really any mutual aid, given the fact that two of our towns are different states, and then the other two have contracted services through NECOG, which there seems to be, I don't want to say a little rift there when it comes to animal control services, but I don't think they're reluctant to offer mutual aid services. And that's all I'm going to say about that publicly. So I have no changes.
I'm good.
I'm good also.
Well said, Larry.
All
Okay,
right.
moving on to Public Works, budget 3201. If I remember right, not a lot of change, no changes here.
Yeah.
This is the actual town garage budget.
Yeah, I have no changes there.
All right. Public Works salary and other 3202. This one's a beast. A lot going on. Obviously the normal 3% salary increases. The biggest driver here, or one of the biggest drivers is electricity related costs related to street lighting. Just above that in lines 17 and 18, some outside contractors related to repair and maintenance work, tree work, and guardrail related work. And then down below line 33, a $3,500 increase to add to acquire a scan tool for the trucks so that they don't have to send the vehicles out for a diagnosis to dealerships, which apparently is very expensive. So that actual computer, if you will is $3,500, and Joe expects that to cut down on the truck repair line if they can do the diagnosis and fix in-house, especially now that they have a full-time mechanic.
Yeah, that's supposed to save a fair amount of money. So
So on the truck repairs, he's got an additional $500.
Right.
If he's gonna be saving money on truck repairs, then
Right. I think he figured that in, and it washes with it ends up netting out to a slight increase driven by part price increases. That's
yeah.
yeah, that's what I have in the
okay,
comments there. Yeah.
okay, very good.
So he had considered that in the
Thank you for
Joe.
clarifying it. Yep.
Yep. Joe and Kelly, I mean, all, all the department heads do a heck of a job scrubbing, but these guys, they go to the nth degree to try to find every penny they can.
Yep.
Oh, I did miss one. Center line marking, line 26. I don't think that's something this group has talked about a lot, but it's a popular topic with residents. A lot of our roads aren't marked, and the ones that are, the marking is old, especially without a lot of streetlights in town. Those markings become a pretty serious safety function. And Joe had talked about trying to move to a better paint. I guess it's an epoxy-based paint that lasts a lot longer. So that's what's driving the increase on line 26.
Okay.
Yeah, I have no changes to this particular one when it comes to them. Yeah.
Okay.
No, I'm good. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yep. All set, Jeff?
Yep.
All right. Ground supplies, parks, budget 3202. An increase in line two, summer temporary help. This line's been very challenging historically to get to find people to do the work because it's typically a, um, a minimum wage position. These guys tend to do a lot of early spring work, specifically getting the cemeteries ready for Memorial Day. They do a lot of mowing of traffic islands and stuff like that. And this is really basically money that's in there so that you have, you might have a younger kid who's doing this work rather than tying up a maintainer who might be able to pave or do other work that's maybe more skilled. So you're not tying up the maintainers doing sort of the routine work. So Joe wanted to increase the pay to $22 an hour in the hope that he could actually fill the positions.
Although I think I respect his want to make it more competitive, I think this is a much bigger issue of properly manning our DPW. I think that this is kind of a lost theory of hiring per diem part-time people and then expecting them to do the job and then taking a month or two to train them to get to a point, and then right when they get to the point of being efficient, you're then laying them off. So I know I had said this the other night, and I still hold firm to this. I think this budget should be completely squashed and then put into general to hire another full-time or two position at DPW that will be designated to do this, and then we can utilize them at the dump um on off times and or plowing. I think this is a broken model. I don't think it's sustainable, and that is my opinion.
I can second that opinion also. I think our DPW does a great job, but
They very much do.
some instances, I think there's some need for improvement and more focusing on time management.
Like I know I had conversation with the DPW director, and the plan was, you could hire one of these employees full time, say it, and make a special designation of maintainer and dump operator, and then get the guys or a guy out of the dump that's actually a contributing member who can boots on the ground do a much better job at day to day rather than put them in a scale house. or whatnot. So although that's probably a change in a union contract language, um, I don't know, food for thought. So I don't know for the meantime if we want to accept the raise, but it's a bigger thing, bigger bigger conversation. I know they're down about two full-time positions that were never refilled as it stands. Um, yeah. So that's where we're
And,
at. So I guess we can approve it for now, but I don't know.
and there's things that need to be done at the transfer station that's been neglected. And
Yep.
I've made the comment about, all these containers are rusting away because of no maintenance on maintaining
Yep.
the paint on these. That's something that needs to be done, when they're at the transfer station and we've got some downtime, they need to be taken care of.
Yeah.
And so a person that can be multi-purpose is more important than training
Yep.
them to mow some lawns.
Yep. Jeff, do you have anything on this before we move to accept with no changes, I suppose?
Yeah, I think everything that's been stated is pretty much. I'm with the mindset as well.
Okay. Alrighty. Bill, you got anything before we move on?
No, the relevant points we'll touch on actually probably in the next department
Yeah.
that'll shed some light on what Larry had just mentioned too.
Yeah, I agree.
So moving on to transfer station 3204, a 3.5% increase. In the middle of the page, some puts and takes, relatively minor dollar amounts. But going back to Larry's comment from just a minute ago, Joe had added $10,000 into this line for storage container upgrades. And there was one other capital item too that I'm trying to remember. Oh, scale repair. Sorry, repair line. The the,
Yep.
the scale has been troublesome for, oh God, it's got to be a couple of years now at least. Um, so one thing we might want to consider in this line, the town receives, let me make sure I get the right one. It's so the state had passed several years ago a deposit on nip liquor nip bottles, and the town gets probably about 15 to $20,000 a year that the prior board of selectmen had voted to maintain in the capital fund for transfer station repairs. Um, that money sits in the capital fund outside of the general fund. However, you could reduce this increase. You could remove it from the general fund budget, and you could authorize Joe to make those purchases from the NIP deposit revenues. If I
Okay.
remember correctly, we have about $32,000 accumulated in those funds, and that's net of one they have been used in the past to replace, I want to say it was a compactor container. Um, so we do have some precedents here. So what that does, it removes that burden from the taxpayers and properly utilizes the NIP deposit revenue that we repair. The constraints on that is it's supposed to be used to support recycling related efforts, and because all of the town's recycling efforts happen at the transfer station, that's why the determination was used to set it up that way.
Yeah, I support. Yeah, if that makes sense, sure.
Yep.
I'm good.
Can you, Bill, can you speak a little bit on the revenue side on
Transfer
the
station, sure.
transfer statement permits and
Yes.
what's transpired over the last 6, 8 months?
Yes, I just gave a similar update to the Board of Finance at their last meeting, and I had refreshed the look. At this point, it would be about a week old. So yeah, through mid-February. Right now, we have we have exceeded the budget on collections by about, I want to say it was about $9,000. Recycling fees are down and tipping are down. But when you add that all in and compare it to the budget, in a nutshell, we're tracking to be about $12,000 to the good in the transfer station, which is an incredible improvement over the past where we were, depending on the year, between 150 and $200,000 in the red, meaning that that deficit was essentially covered by the taxpayers in town who weren't using the transfer station.
Right.
So the increase in the fee has had the desired result, and it is tracking now. There was some loss. Some folks aren't crazy about going to the transfer station to begin with, and they would do it because it was such a deal. So I think there were some folks who were maybe on the fence about going to curbside who did make the decision to go to curbside. However, the increase kind of was set to hopefully catch and cover that, and it does seem to have happened. So,
Okay.
in a nutshell, the transfer station, based on the best numbers I have right now, should break even with maybe being slightly in the black by the end of the year, which was to be fully open with with the audience. The intent there was never to turn that into a money making enterprise. It was to put it in a position where it was covering its cost. And
Well,
some would look at that also and say, well, you haven't taken into account the benefits because here at the town, all of our benefits live in the fringe benefits page, which we'll talk about a little later on in this meeting. But we are substantially better off right now.
at some point, Nick, I'm not in favor of reducing the was it 275? But I think we really, percentage wise, when the increase was made, our seniors really got hit pretty hard. At some point, I'd like to have some discussion on revisiting the senior portion of that.
Yeah, I think that's
Sure.
reasonable. I think double-edged sword, right? If we're gonna have a venture, it needs to break even, and we can't subsidize it to further put our town in the deficit. But
Yep.
on the flip side, yes, I think that's a much bigger question that we can definitely have.
A
Okay.
little bit of color on that, Larry, that you may not be aware of. When the fees were set, um, in the past, the seniors were received essentially it was just under a 50% discount, a 48% if I remember right, and
Yep.
that was reduced to somewhere around a 20 or 25% discount. So that's why, in essence, the seniors were hit, or they felt like they were hit harder because while the fees were going up, their discount was reduced.
Okay.
That's why the numbers act the way they do.
Okay. I can see that, but I still don't think it would hurt to have a little discussion at some point.
Yep, absolutely. I just wanted that little fact. I think kind of got lost in some of the larger numbers in that issue, but
It's
that's
very
that's
possible. Yeah.
what drives that.
Thank you for the
Sure.
that update. Thank you.
Any changes on transfer station?
Negative.
Good.
Okay, so let's just keep the possibility of using the NIP money in your back pocket for the future.
Now,
I
before we move on, um, under his maintenance and repairs, he's got $3,000. Did and I just made the comment about maintaining our containers. Um, Maybe we can ask Joe if there's any money in that maintenance budget to do that.
Yep,
I
and
would.
that we could also look at that NIP money for those types of
Oh,
repairs
good,
also.
good. Okay, good.
All right.
Yep, thank you.
Moving on to cemeteries, 3205. Um, this budget really relates to it's typically used for replacement equipment, things like weed whackers and chainsaws. If I remember correctly, I hope I'm getting that right, Joe. And it's not completely used every year. It's just it is used based on what they need to help maintain, specific to the cemeteries. No increase there. It's been at $1,500 for several years.
Yeah, I have no updates to that or changes.
Snow removal. This ought to be fun.
Well, I think it is fun. I think the increase is justified, and it should be a wake-up call to real life in New England, and
Right,
should deter people from years of cutting realistic
right.
budgets.
So just keep in mind that your predecessors and the Board of Finance predecessors had put forth initially, I want to say it was right around $240,000. And
Sure.
and that was reduced to 150 over the course of the four referendums last cycle. So that was there was a lot of hand wringing around that cut because we
Yeah.
knew they knew that this was a very possible outcome, what we're living through this year. Unfortunately, when the budget environment gets that way, I think what you tend to see is that people go to cut things where there's a chance of it working out, in this instance with a mild winter, um, versus cutting something that you know would put something in the red. So I think that's why this happened. But obviously, it did not work out well. My view of it as the finance director, when we're in a surplus position like we are right now, at 10% when we should be, at 16.7, it's tough to take these gambles because if you miss like we did this year, first you cut everything else to the bone in Joe's department, which he's already done, and then you go right to surplus, and then you're going backwards on surplus. And we've made some hard fought gains there over the last 4 or 5 years. But anyway, we're proposing 240. No significant changes anywhere else in the budget, and then that number was worked up based on a heavy winter, and the expected per ton cost next year, which if I remember right was right around $100.
Yeah, I don't have any cuts there.
No, neither do I.
Nope.
All right, building official 3301, a 15.9% increase, primarily driven by line 5, which is the addition of an assistant building official.
So my caveat to that is, with us utilizing him in a different way and not having to do building maintenance stuff, library, town hall, I would say that would better utilize his time. I do see a definite need for the extra 15,000. But that being said, given the 15 that we put in, I'd like to reduce that to 10,000.
I will second that also.
All right, so that's going to be a motion on the floor if so be it. So you're going to
Yeah,
second that motion?
I will second that, yes.
Okay, do we have any discussion?
I think with the proposed maintenance combination with the school, I think that's a smart move, Nick.
Okay, Jeffrey, do you have anything?
I think I'm good on that.
Okay.
It's how much are we going to get out of 10,000 on a assistant building official though?
Probably a
And
lot. It's all contract services, so like
okay,
once
okay,
the Belden Corticelli project really kicks off, you're looking at the school now, all of
yep.
the multifamilies that are, being renovated next to 3 rows or in 3 rows. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff right now where he is so backlogged in permits. He just needs someone to go and do some electrical and plumbing and building inspections so he can continue to do his good work. I've had detailed conversation with him about it. So
Nope.
the need is definitely there. So I guess we'll take a vote if we're all good.
No, I wasn't really concerned about the need. It's more just the amount.
Yeah. Yeah.
As long as I don't want to have to go over if you know if there's a heavy load just because of the mill building and the
I
other
agree.
the other complexes going full bore hopefully this summer.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
I
I think
think
that'll,
yeah. I think it's still going to be a while before we see the main mill kick off. I
Yeah.
don't I
Yep.
don't foresee any movement there in the next calendar year other than remediation.
Right. Okay. Just want to make sure.
All right, so
Okay,
all
so we're
those in
going down to
favor?
10.
10.
So from
Okay.
15 to 10. All those
Yep.
in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
All right, unanimous. Bill, we can move on to the next page if you have that.
Got it. Uh, Building Board of Appeals. This budget was actually removed last year after years of inactivity. So moving on to Human Services.
Yep.
4101. This budget captures um, Teague, United Services, Thames Valley Council for Community Action, Community Kitchens. A lot of these representatives from a lot of these organizations came into the joint meetings and explained what they were interested in doing. If I might, we have a little room, I believe, in the United Services and Teague line that'll give me a chance to also talk to you about the national opioid funds. So there was an opioid related settlement several years ago, similar to the NIP deposit money that we just talked about. These funds are received every year. Not a huge amount of money, but they are like the NIP funds. They're which are required to support recycling related efforts. These have to support specifically anti-addiction related efforts. The town doesn't obviously offer any of those services directly. Um, they are most prominently offered by United Services in Teague. So what we could do here just based looking at the history, I guess, first of all, in the past, we've used about 5,000 of the opioid funds per year to reduce the budget impact of Teague's request. So
Yep.
to be clear, Teague receives their full request. 50, if we look at last year, 54,000 was paid from the budget. The other 5,000 came from the national opioid funds, which live in our grant funds, similar to the NIP related the deposit revenue that lives in our capital fund. We could also do the same thing with United Services. Historically, the town has made a $2,000 contribution, even though this year they've asked for 6892. Um, you could decide to keep their contribution at $2,000, but that full $2,000 could be paid from the opioid fund. So I guess what I'm saying is you could, under just an example scenario, fund uh, Teague at you could keep Teague at 54,000 and United Services you could actually reduce to zero from a budget perspective. However, United Services would receive $2,000 of opioid funds, and Teague would receive 54,000 from the budget and six from the opioid funds. So they would be at 60,000. Does that
So
make sense?
my sentiment would be to fund Teague at request and use opiate funds, and then slightly in probably leave access where it is in 26. And then or not access, United. And then there was a question of access, which it's not in here. They get 1,000 a year, correct? Is that on this page?
Oh, let me see. Yes.
So I want to cut access to 500, and I want to take that extra 500 and give it to the Thompson Community Cupboard. So I don't know if you can put that in and make that change.
Has Thompson Community Cupboard come to us? Is that Community Kitchens? Is that the same
It's Thompson
organization?
Community Cupboard is the Weekend Warriors program. So they
Oh,
feed
I see. Got it.
about 90 seniors and about 120 families for school-age children.
So
So
that's a Thompson only?
it's Thompson only.
Thompson Community.
And quite frankly, I'm decreasing the budget for access because as much as I think they're somewhat impactful, the presentation didn't seem to be in line with the goals and objections of the town of Thompson, not to be confused with the town of Tolland. Um, and I think the impact could be much better spent in Thompson for the Thompson Community Cupboard.
Okay, so before any motions are made, if I understand correctly, We would be reducing Teague by 6,000, which would be picked up by the opioid funds.
Yes.
We would be reducing United Services to zero in the budget, but paying them 2,000 from the opioid funds. And we would be shifting $500 from Access Agency to Thompson Community Cupboard, which would leave the miscellaneous program line in total at the same amount.
Yeah, just shifting some money around.
Right.
Does that sound reasonable to the group?
I don't have a problem with that, Nick.
So we're spending more money, or we're spending a little bit more money. We're seeing the increases, but a good percentage of that is coming from grant funded
Right.
access. So we're actually saving a little bit of money, in
And
my opinion.
what I like about that is it reduces the burden to the taxpayer and it
Yes.
uses the national opioid funds appropriately because those
Yep.
Yep.
organizations really do
Yep.
have targeted programs. As
100%.
as you guys
That's what the
know,
money's for. That's what it
right.
should be being used for. It shouldn't be held in escrow and or whatever. That's what it's for. So I'll take a motion on that. I'll make that motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Second. Do we have any further discussion before we take a vote?
No,
Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
I,
All right,
Aye.
just give me a second, guys, to
Yeah, that was a lot. Sorry, Bill.
get that in. And I think that catches it. Very good. All right. Any other changes to Human Services 4101?
I have none.
no,
All right. Moving on to Veteran Service 4102. The 169%, 165% increase here is primarily driven by $9,300 related to placing veteran memorial banners on, I believe it would be Riverside Drive. You may have seen similar banners in Putnam and Dudley. Um, so that was reflective of the cost there. Also in the office supply line is some money to put a plaque up in the town hall that would capture all of the veterans of the month.
Okay.
I think that was about $500 or $600 if I remember right. Yeah,
Okay.
95.
I'm definitely in favor of the plaque. I'm in favor of the banners, although I don't know if right now is the right time for said banners. Showing a 3.5 mil increase with no cuts right now. Um, I don't know. Do we have any thought there?
I'd let the budget go through and
Okay.
see where it lands.
Okay.
Again, I'm in favor of the plaques too. I think the plaque is an easy sell. I'd be actually willing to donate to get that plaque in the town hall done. It's short money. I don't think that Randy would have any problem with raising $500 for that, even when it gets cut. And I'm assuming that the Board of Finance is going to cut that. But
Yeah, yeah. And the other thing to think about the banners too, I think that's probably a smart decision because they're going to be on Main Street and Riverside Drive. That's probably a good fiscal 28 item because we're going to be redoing all of Main Street, moving poles, doing sidewalks, construction.
Yep.
So to put those up this year would be silly. They would get ruined from yeah.
sure.
So that's kind of the other caveat there too.
All right, so do we
So
want to go ahead and pull some, or what do we want to do?
I'm in favor of letting it go through and see where the Board of Finance takes that. But
Okay.
we can have other discussion on that plaque, and I don't have a problem with even talking with Rainey about it. And, um,
I would say that we need to communicate what we just spoke about the donation of the plaque and the banners to Board of Finance. So Larry, if you wanna tackle the plaque thing,
yep,
that way
yep.
when they come, they can know that that it's been taken care of and it's easy to cut. And then I would say the same. Bill, I don't know if you have that if the ability because I know you're going to be sitting in their meetings. I may be too. I probably will be.
Yep.
Um, but
Yep. We can mention
to kind of hit that home about the construction project and in not only our fiscal situation, but it's you know got many different things.
I think it would be a great community outreach to start a donation for the plaques and for the signs that Rainey's proposing.
Yeah, yeah, yep, yep. All right, so we're gonna leave that one how it is.
Yep.
Okay, well let's move on. Public
All
health.
right. Public health nursing. Um, Similar to probate, NDDH, this is NDDH's fee related to Board of Health inspections, septic system inspections and the like. It's a per capita fee, which was provided by their director.
Yeah, fixed cost.
Yep.
All right, on to the next one, unless anybody has anything to input.
Not I.
No, I'm good.
Civic and cultural 5101 is actually library administration. I worked directly with Rachel to set up this budget because it's her first time through. Really, the primary driver here is the library board wanting to return to the historical level of books and periodical purchases in line 30. Last year, they had submitted a budget of $40,000, and during the budget referendums, it was eventually cut in half to 20. So they have returned to $40,000 there, and that's 20,000 of the $21,000 increase.
Yep,
Got no issue.
no issues.
I'm good.
Move on.
Library and community center, not a lot going on here. We did see the primary increase is electricity related. Just for your information, we've used 10% across the board for electricity in most of the budgets anyway, except where we've seen fluctuations in actual. And that's really it's a best guess again. I talked to everybody I can about that, and you're not going to get a straight answer from EverSource. So it's 10%. Building repairs and maintenance has an increase of 2,000, which looks like it's HVAC preventive maintenance contract related. And those are really the primary drivers. It's nice to see some decreases here and there. As that specific one, fuel heating, I'm sure you've heard this on other departments. We did lock in for next year at a lower per gallon cost, so that drives a minor savings in this budget. Any changes?
Not I.
Now,
All right, celebrations 5201, another budget that has been the same for years, and this is primarily the Memorial Day and Veterans Day parades.
No comments.
All right, moving on to Historical Society 5202. The no increase in the request. The Historical Society tries to get full disclosure. I'm on their board, so they try to be respectful of the town's funds. This money is really used for heating and then system and facility maintenance. In the past, they've done some boiler work and the like. Right now, they're sizing up some window, wall, and foundation related work, primarily at the Larned museum, the old library on Thompson Hill, and the old town hall building at Thompson Hill.
Yep. I'll second what Bill stated. I'm on the board as well. So, they do a lot of things in town that help out. And it's $6,000. Um, they help take care of all our historical items and everything like that.
Yeah, I have no changes.
No, right.
All right. Recreation Commission 5301.
The only option I found is Recreation Commission
Well,
Sorry, picked up your thing and was
No problem.
communicating back to you.
Brian really held the line here. The only increase outside of salaries was the normal contractual increase in their rec software. That's the software they use for registration and collections and the like of $215. Everything else is flat.
No comments.
Yeah.
Moving on to development and planning, budget 6,000, 2.5% increase. Really minor movement here. Some meetings and fees related stuff and $500 reduction in office supplies because Tira buys her own pens.
Yeah, that's what she said. But yeah, no, I think their budget looked really good as far as that. They were very responsible, and I think I have no changes.
All right. Planning and zoning 6101, 2.2% increase. Outside of salary related increases, it's actually down due to a reduction in printing and publications.
Cool. No changes.
So I have a comment. I've been working with Cindy on ZEO. We have some outstanding unregistered vehicles that needed to be addressed. And also in driving around town, I have also identified a lot of out of state registered vehicles. A part-time person would be very beneficial and actually would give the town a net increase in taxation if we could start cracking down on some of these out-of-state vehicles and unregistered vehicles, and they're all over town. The town is becoming in some areas an eyesore. We've got issues on Riverside Drive that I've been helping Cindy address. So
Cindy's position, is that a full-time position or is that a part-time position?
There's a
Part-time.
part-time.
So I would go ahead, and then I'll call.
So in discussions with her, with increase of workload of zoning issues that we've been having right now and trying to catch up on some of the outstanding paperwork that she has for these unregistered and vehicles and stuff. I would like to propose, maybe a 10 hour week, 15-hour week position. And it's very easily justified by the taxation of the excise tax that we could gain that would well more than, and I've already given her addresses and cars that she's forwarded to the assessor's office. Again, once I give her the information, she forwards that. So I'm assuming that, things are moving forward on that end. And I think a part-time position would benefit the town immensely.
I agree, and they are moving forward. I think the problem at hand isn't another part-time position. It's an actual full-time position for that role.
Great question.
So whether we make a motion to add a little money to her salary line to flex her hours up, I think there's a bigger conversation there from an HR perspective that, I'm sure Cindy will want to retire
Yep.
again. Um, at some point, Cindy's already retired once, so from the town of
Right.
Putnam, I believe, so um, and this isn't in any way to be inflammatory or be disrespectful to her, but we definitely need to have the conversation now to plan for the exact point that Larry just made. If she's 25 hours a week, she can't get the job done in 25. It should be a 35-hour a week position. But from a her standpoint, is she able and willing to do that? You know? The
Well,
next position when she retires and we fill, okay, yeah, we'll fill it as a 35-hour position, but um I don't know. Have you had any conversation with her regarding that?
I haven't on regards of increasing her hours. I have noticed that she is on the stress side. I tried to meet with her a couple times over the last couple of weeks, and she's had her hands full with zoning meetings and trying to get paperwork done for that. So, and this is why I've tried to help her out and trying to make an impact on some of the well overdue citations that should have been sent out, and no fault of hers. Again, she's out straight, basically.
Yeah. Nick, do we know how many hours she's set to work per week?
I think it's 25-hour a week position, but it needs to be a full 35-hour a week position.
Well, I don't disagree.
Yep. And it's very easily justified just from what I've been seeing and what I've been doing to help her with the backlog. And I'm sure we're already starting to see some dividends
Hmm.
on that. So it's a very easily justified position. That's not going to cost the town. It's going to be a net gain in my eyes. So I'm open to any suggestions and try to move that forward. Whether we look for a part-time position now and talk with Cindy on what her long-term
Hmm.
plans are, which could probably steer us in a better direction on how we want to proceed.
So do we
Is
want
there
to
a way
leave
we
it
could?
like, oh, go ahead.
Well, I'm thinking back to the deputy fire marshal where he's contracted. Is there a way we could do a contracted, assistant CEO?
Well, I know NECOG offers the service, but it's kind of pricey. I don't know. Bill, do you have anything to add to this conversation? You're probably the leading most expert in the room here.
Um, I don't want to speak for Cindy, but I'm not sure she wants to take on more hours. I'd want to talk to her about that.
Yeah, I agree.
Um, and I know I'm not sure how Larry, it sounds like you're pretty close to the effort to get folks to properly register the vehicles. I have seen Paul. I know Paul, the assessor, has been working on that. It was just a couple weeks ago. I think he mentioned something like 40 or 50 cars that he was
Sure.
actively working.
Yep. Yep.
Um,
And I've been working in getting those addresses in to Cindy, who has been forwarding, and I've been pretty much doing this for the last at least 6 weeks, maybe 7 weeks.
Yeah.
So
So food for thought, this could be a duty underlined in one of the selectmen's positions in applicably paid for the service. I don't know if anyone's thought of that, but Larry, I don't know, and this goes for Larry or Jeff, if this is something that you wanted to assist with and respectfully be compensated for, that's a
Hmm.
conversation we can have.
I'm willing to have further discussion on this,
Yeah.
but it's something that needs to be addressed because just driving around town, the loss of tax revenue from unregistered vehicles
Oh, absolutely.
is going to be in the thousands of
Yes,
dollars.
it's
Right.
obnoxious. And it should not just, it's not just, it's a zoning issue, an assessor issue across the board. It's not just motor vehicles, it's
Correct.
commercial stuff, it's personal
Yep. Yep.
property, it's
Yep.
lack of people having, illegal businesses, motor vehicles. It's a much bigger zoning issue that we have to address. So
Yep.
that being said, I don't know. Bill, is it appropriate to add a placeholder, a line item placeholder for contract services for zoning enforcement or you know I don't know. What do you think? Is it appropriate to put a $5,000 placeholder in?
Yeah, we can definitely, I could repurpose line 4 here to do that.
Okay. Okay.
Um, what would you like to title it again?
Contract services, zoning enforcement. In that contract could be in-house contracting or outside. There's no, I'm not looking to put a cap on that, but if that makes any sense. And I think for the sum of $5,000, Jeff and Larry, do you think that's a good starting point?
It's just, yes, it's a good starting point.
It's
Okay.
something. It's a good ask.
Okay.
And let's see, if we can get some kind of a program implemented. Again, it's something that can be addressed, and it may have to be increased next year. We'll see
Oh yeah. Yeah.
what the
Yeah.
need is.
I think
But
when the time comes where Cindy wants to retire, and I respect her request and eventually to do that, I think that would be a good opportunity and whatnot. But yeah, I agree. So let's do that. Do we so why don't I make a motion for the $5,000 new increase for that line? Do I have a second?
second,
Second. Any further discussion?
not I.
I'm good.
Okay. All right, let's take a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
I
Aye.
Aye, unanimous. We have it. Do we have any other further changes to this budget? Can we go on to the next page?
No, thank you.
Zoning Board of Appeals,
All right, next page, Bill.
budget 6202. Actually a 7% decrease here.
Love it.
Reduction in advertising. And a 3% increase, a whopping $65
All
for
right,
the secretary.
I have no further on that. We can move on if you guys don't have anything.
I don't.
I'm good.
Inlands, Wetlands, Department 6203, 4.5% increase. Give my phone, guys. Let me see where the increases were. Primarily in advertising, and I think that's legal notices for inland wetland stuff. And then accurately reflecting the cost of the cell phone, which had been low in the past.
We have cell phones?
Not you.
That was a joke. Come on, you guys are supposed to laugh.
I did. I said not you.
Sorry, I think that budget line looks good. I think it's all appropriate.
Hold on, guys. Our bankers are calling.
All good.
Oh,
For good reasons. All right,
oh, good.
moving on.
Moving on.
All right, Conservation Commission. 6204, 4.2% increase. This is the other side of the cell phone. And salaries. It's really it. Oh, the $100 in office supplies were for her Adobe account, which she splits a few ways. Not a
I
heck
have
of
no
what's
comments.
going on there. Moving on to Economic Development, 6205. I'm all out of whack here. 38% increase. Driven by line 11. annual contract renewal with a marketing vendor, and increase printing and publication. Um, just printing of marketing related materials for the town. I'm
So
probably
on line
looking,
11, we're seeing a $5,000 increase. Is that what we're saying?
right,
Yeah, I'm
trying
gonna,
to,
as much as I don't necessarily want to, I'm gonna hold that to 15. Any further discussion?
Just what's the reasoning behind that, Bill?
believe it was an increase in, and this one's escaping me, and is Tira on the line by any
She
chance?
is Lon. She could speak to it. She just unmuted.
Yeah, I'm right here. Can you guys hear me?
Thanks, Tira.
Yeah, so the 15 was where we ended last year after they passed the budget up with the 20 and the in the first pass. Because as I had said when we did the initial workshop, um, there is at least one, and there may actually be more than one, uh, commission that sort of works in the economic development sphere that doesn't have their own budget. And in the past, they have gone to EDC to request funds, specifically agriculture. I think there are a couple of other commissions that have done so in the past. So the $15,000 is our annual contract with our marketing firm. They have confirmed that they can do the same. And so then that 5,000 was something that got built in case specifically the Agriculture Commission wants to do something that they've been talking about for a couple of years, which is to seek some matching fund grants for marketing opportunities for agribusiness and agritourism. And that's also the $2,500 bump in the printing and publication line. Uh, so last year it made it through the first pass with those numbers intact, and then it got whacked out at some point between referendums 1 and 4. So this is going back to that request. Um, and if it gets pulled out at this point, it just means we know going forward we cannot be in that position for either ag or any other smaller commission uh, uh, that would, sort of want EDC to sponsor a grant application for them. So they can definitely work without it. Um, but when we do these grants, 6 months, 8 months, a year out from when the opportunities might arise, there's no other way for us to project them, if that makes sense.
You still thinking on taking the 5,000 out, Nick?
I don't know. Garrett, wants, needs, what do we think? Like brass tacks.
You want the flat out truth?
I want the flat out truth.
I expect you guys to take this out. Whether you
Okay.
take it out now or later is, I think it ends up being up to you. At some point, we know something's going to have to be given back.
Yeah.
And it depends how many times the budget fails going through. What I don't want EDC to be in the position of is having their baseline uh, budget cut, because
Yes. I
we
agree.
we have a contract that I've gotten him to verbally say he can fulfill um, at the same rate for another year.
I
Uh,
agree.
so it's just how much the EDC, as the only available commission with any kind of discretionary fund budget in the general budget, is available to other town-related entities who might want to pursue economic development measures. So
Mhm.
I fully always expected this come out. I will say, if you must take out the 5,000, that's fine. I would ask you to leave the 2,500,
Mhm.
um, because that is a smaller line, and it does at
Yep.
least give some of those entities an opportunity, if they come with a completed project for a brochure or something, to have that access.
I agree. Gentlemen, you've heard the facts. What do we want to do?
Um, I'm willing to leave it in at this stage and see where the Board of Finance decides what they want to do.
Okay, Jeffrey, what do you think?
I'm on the same page there.
All right, let's leave it and move on.
So before you move on, I just want to go back very briefly to the 6101 budget. I have some thoughts on that position and how that might work. I was going to suggest that you use that placeholder line. I don't think any more of that conversation should occur in this context, but
I agree.
I do think that you've identified some very specific issues, and it's which solution it leads to.
Yep.
I will say, if you're thinking about those professional services for the amount that you've set aside, I don't think that's going to be enough for what you've actually discussed.
Oh, I
Um,
agree.
but I just wanted to toss that out there since it's my department. So
I agree.
okay. That
Okay,
was all I
thank
had
you.
about that.
Okay,
Thank you.
cool. All right, so I guess we're gonna move on that one. So, which puts us to 6206.
Yep. Building Committee, 6206. 26% decrease here, which really is driven by line 3. Special meetings. This budget had been increased in the past, excuse me, to support meetings related to HVAC, track, and school security projects. Those 3 will come to a close at some point in fiscal 26, early fiscal 27. So they don't expect the number of special meetings to keep going forward, and they reduce the budget.
I have no comments.
Yeah,
All right.
no, I'm ready to move on. That one's
I'm
great.
good. It's easy.
The next budget is 7301 and 7302 sundry, which includes employee benefits, some professional services, and municipal insurance. We're at a 11.79% increase here, driven primarily by an expected 10% increase in health and life insurance. Again, that 10%, we didn't pluck that one out of air like we did with the electric as a best guess. This is actually from our insurance broker. In the past, we've seen that expected percentage drift down throughout the budget cycle. Unfortunately, at this point, it has not. But we keep asking and keep hoping. So we might get some lift there in the future, but right now, I think we've got to stay put. You're probably looking at the change percentage saying, well, Bill, you're saying 10, but we're at it's almost 18. This line is driven by 2 different things, the rate increase, but also the mix of what each employee, what level of coverage they have. So if someone starts a family during the year, they may move from being single coverage at about, I don't know, 14,000 or so, to a family plan, which is more like mid 30s, 35,000 or so. So that can swing quite a bit depending on mix, and that calculation is actually done employee by employee throughout the town. The pension increase is driven by correspondence with CMERS, which is the state municipal employee pension plan, and that reflects the increase based on the specific employees that are eligible for that plan. FICA and Medicare are driven by the salary increases. Unemployment comp based on expected run rate. Workers' comp is at that expected 10% increase again. Line 16, professional services. This one fluctuates every other year based on the pension plan needing an actuarial evaluation every other year. Fiscal 27 is an on year, and that fee is directly from the actuary. Municipal insurance. This one you would think would be up 10%. However, that is the 144,990 is a 10% increase over the FY26 projection. So we budgeted too low for this line, so the increase was taken on the actual in fiscal 26. That's why it's a greater than a 10% increase. That sums up the increases there. Unfortunately, we don't have a lot of discretion
Yeah.
on
Right.
items. A lot of them are
Nope.
set
Yep.
outside of our control.
I think we're good to move on.
Yep.
All
no
right.
Yeah.
comments.
All right. 8101, 102, and 150 capture capital transfers and our debt. So I'm going to defer the conversation on the capital and transfer sections, the top half of this page, because we have a specific page that we will walk through each of the requests, and we'll have a lot of work to do on those pages. Debt retirement, we can handle this here. Just give me 1 second to get to my paper page. Debt retirement is actually showing a decrease because we are expecting to pay off the school roof loan in fiscal 26, which really drives some of the decreases down below. And we've also had two leases roll off. That fact will come into play when we talk about lease versus buy on some of the other capital pages. So in essence, that's what's driving that decrease in the debt service lines. School roof rolling off, extension of the HVAC bans, and two leased items, which, if I remember right, were a roll-off truck and I can't remember what the other one was. Those two leases rolling off. So that's what's going on there. This will really be driven by, there's a lot of money on this page, especially in capital, and it's probably one of the spots in the budget that gets targeted most aggressively for cuts, mainly because the costs that are on these pages on the capital page are at full purchase. So, for example, a 9-ton truck right now is almost $300,000. You compare that to the leasing cost, it's around 60. So you get almost $250,000 cut right there if you move to a lease, which has been generally the way the Board of Finance has trended.
Yeah, and I'd like to move towards lease options, so
All
yeah.
right. So we'll catch the capital page after we talk contingency.
Okay.
So budget 8155. This one's quick. Our contingency line, which has really saved our bacon the last couple of years, we used a lot of it to cover salt and sand in past years. This year, fiscal 26 to date, we've used $60,000 of it to cover higher ambulance costs, and then the other $30,000 has gone to salt and sand. This has been I try to nudge this up. I feel personally this number belongs between 150 and 200,000. I realize that jump, there's no appetite for that level of jump from year to year in the budget. So I try to sneak up on it. Last year we tried to go up 20. By the end of the referendums, it was cut right back to 90. So I added another 10,000 this year to go to an even 100,000.
Very fair.
Yep.
All
Smart
right, so
business decision.
back into the capital transfer line. So this page shows all of the items that Joe and others have requested from a capital perspective.
Yep.
I'll just go quickly down the list. Town garage roof. You may have heard there's some pretty nasty leaks out there, and this was sort of meant as a first go at setting some money aside. This may be better served being down below in the municipal property repair fund in the transfer line, because typically up in capital, you're listing items that should, like you're buying a truck, so you buy the truck and it's over. Whereas this is sort of saving up to get it fixed. So that's something we may want to consider. It doesn't change the total budget, but it's better presentation wise. Ambulance building, town hall. Nick is doing some exploratory work around putting a metal building up in the town hall parking lot and housing the ambulance folks here in the town hall versus up at Thompson Hill. And that 120,000, Nick, if I remember right, is the cost of setting up the building.
Yeah, and there's about a 4-year ROI on that. Currently we're at 18, but we'll be at 24,000 to house the ambulance if we can't find a suitable location probably the next 6 months to a calendar year. So the calculation ROI on that is about 4 years. So and it serves multiple purposes. So
Right.
yep, that's where I'm at there. We're gonna do all the site work in-house. DPW's said conversation, so they can pour the pad. They can do trench electrical stuff like that. So all we'll need is the building install and a little bit of electrical HVAC work.
Okay. Roadside mower, long overdue.
Yep.
9-ton truck. There was one in the budget for last year. I mean, I'm sorry. In the past, the Board of Finance has voted to authorize the ordering of a budget of a truck, and then it would roll into uh, the following budget. Um, that practice is actually kind of frowned upon. So the truck that we normally would have been receiving right around now, the brakes were put on that purchase.
Yeah.
So this is really replacing that truck. And on Joe's list of priorities, this would be number one. He has actually
Yeah.
gone through and prioritized all of his, and I'll touch on that as I go through. The next item, John Deere tractor snow blower. This is used in a lot of instances like Riverside Park, where you can't get a 9-ton truck in to move things around. Another one that's long overdue at $54,000. And if I remember right, forgive me, but I'm going to flip around a little bit here because I have it down below. He has that as number 3 on his priorities. So 9-ton truck number 1, John Deere tractor snowblower number 2. The next item, Riverside Park lights replacement. I'm sure you've all heard this story. Unfortunately, this cost has almost doubled since the lights came down 2 or 3 years ago at this point. We can actually reduce that number to $85,000. This was an estimate based on, we had 3 quotes coming in for this. One's at around 120 something, one was around 116,000, and the final one came in at $85,000. So we've got a little bit of money that we can take out of that line.
I think to speak to this, and I want to talk about this, is that I am all for recreation and the great job that those two individuals do in the town. The only thing my hang up is this, in my opinion, is the tip of the iceberg expenditure. Meaning, if we're going to put lights up there, we need to be fully prepared to get the bathrooms up in order and get the bathrooms working. We need to be fully prepared to redo the infield. We need to be fully prepared to then invest in turf quality and cutting the grass on a weekly basis. And so, although this is an expenditure to get the lights done, this is a expenditure to make it a usable area, and you can't have one without the other. You know, that infield diamond needs to be recut. The whole thing needs to be like it's a mess. So it's like, although this is $100,000 purchase, this is going to be a quarter of what we really need to spend to make that space up to date. Would anybody argue, or do you have any other information there?
No, other than the obvious is the cost of the electricity to run the lights.
Yeah. Which
That's
is,
another
yeah,
budget item.
yeah. But I like, I'd like to, I don't want to use the term, I don't want to half-ass this project, but if we're gonna invest in Riverside Park, we need to be all in. And I think by just, a quarter in on the lights and not really in on anything else, it's like, yeah, the lights are great, but in order to get the fields back up in order, it's gonna be another whatever, $100,000, I'm sure. So I think that's the bigger conversation. Like, if we're gonna pull the trigger on this, like, are we all in? Are we ready to spend another 100 to 300,000 on infrastructure and turf and all stuff like that. You know what I mean? And it's like it's not irrigated, so it's like, are we gonna then invest a bunch of money to get it so people can play on that field, and then have it die because we get a stretch of weather that's 100 degrees and we don't get rain for 2 months? I don't know. I think I think we're kind of putting the cart before the horse here. Thoughts, questions, concerns?
Well, were the softball leagues that were playing there under the lights paying anything
Yeah.
that we
Can I
know of?
this is Brian. I'm on if it's possible to speak to some of that.
Please do.
So first to the bathrooms that are in the shed down there are actually in working order. So if needed, they're able to be used, and they have been used in the recent past when the middle school softball team has played down there.
I
We
thought they
don't
were
keep them we
winterized.
don't keep them open all they're locked. They're opened by, lock and key. They're given to the coach for games and practices only. So and that's really just to discourage like um vandalism and things like that. So
Right. Can
uh,
you just confirm before you go further? I was under the impression that those were winterized pre-COVID and they haven't been opened since. Can you?
no, they've been open since COVID for sure.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Okay.
There's also the Porta John down there, which we uh keep down there regularly. It's a monthly contract with Earthworks. So but to access the bathrooms to the general public, not open unless given a key
Okay.
to a coach or whoever's using the field at that time. Um, as far as the field maintenance, DPW has been cutting it regularly. It is still used regularly by, Nikon soccer, flag football, things like that. Our own internal soccer programs. The field is actually maintained. The field playability uh, is actually great for what it is. It's not irrigated like you said, but it's naturally able uh, to kind of keep its shape. It's been actually very well kept for the little resources that have been put into it, for as few resources that have been put into it. As far as the infield, it's typically falls on the organization that's using it to maintain the infield, to drag it and get it ready for play. It has been done in the past and the recent past by the middle school and little league. Typically when it was being used more by like Jack Benny League, the adult leagues, obviously in much better shape. It was getting a lot more use. But to your point, it is something that I think down the line uh should maybe fall on either our department or Public Works Department to make sure that is maintained. But as of now, it's been maintained by the organizations that use it.
Yeah, which to me, like I went there a week last year and the grass was over a foot tall. And that's no one's fault, but the DPW is doing the absolute best they can with the extreme lack of resources that they need. I think to give it an expectation that it's gonna, and to have volunteer organizations, expect to take on, if the Thompson Little League, I remember as a contractor walking with Thompson Little League in their budget or lack thereof to maintain their fields. You know what I mean? I think it's a bigger question. And to be quite frankly honest, with a 3.5 mil increase right now, um, and I'll be frank, this is going to be the conversation of cutting positions versus having lights. And I think the priority there is the position over the lights. And I'll be very much um outright in saying that because I don't want to lay off or furlough your assistant. Um, but that I don't know. That's my thought. And anybody can weigh in, but people matter more than I think objects to me.
So the one other thing I would note about that, and I agree with your point there too, is that there has been money set aside in capital for this project already at 26,000 fiscal years ago, as well
Okay.
as 15,000 uh agreed to by the rec commission from the rec fund. So roughly $40,000 already committed to the project. If you think uh 85,000 is the low bid.
Yeah.
40,000 committed to the project if you'd be willing to at least decrease it in half and see where it goes. Um,
Yeah,
just
I
maybe
think
get
the
that project
cost is
moving
the
forward.
cost.
Yep.
You know what I mean? I don't think it to me it's an all or nothing conversation to me. Um, I don't want to put a band-aid and partially fund it. So I think to the group, either we fund it or we don't, But
I think my point is that it already is partially funded, and that request there is
yeah.
doesn't
Oh no,
reflect
I
that. So,
understand that.
yeah.
Yeah. No, I understand that and I respect it. I just don't want to do that again. I don't want to be like, oh, well, let's partially fund it again. That does nothing for anybody, you know. Um, I don't know. Does anybody have any further conversation or thoughts?
I think you're
No?
right, Nick.
I
It is a bigger conversation. Um, I think we need to look at the total impact that using the lights, using the maintenance on the field. Um, there's other costs that are going to be incurred also. So, good point.
Yeah, it just the day to day to keep our lights on is already being taxed. We can't afford to buy salt. We're there. I think I hate to say it. Needs to be some sincere conversation on prioritization. I don't know. I'll leave it for now, but I would expect Board of Finance will have this exact same conversation with arguably a 3.5 mil increase currently.
All right, the next item, trailer for mowers. This is relatively small ask, and moving to a type of trailer that would allow a greater number of the employees at the DPW to trailer the mowers from one mowing location to another, and replacing the current trailer that's in pretty rough shape.
Yeah, I think this is a need, not a want at the moment. They're driving out of class right now, which is illegal. So, we don't really have a choice on that.
The paving roller is something that Joe puts in the budget occasionally to help support our paving efforts. If I remember right, this was relatively low on his priorities. Forgive the screen jumping around. It was actually the lowest ranked item on his list, followed by the chipper, which was second to last. My understanding is their current chipper is, like much of our equipment, is pretty far along. The next item, there are actually two F-350s with a couple different variations. The one we're discussing at the moment is a dually with a plow and sander, and the second is a utility body. I believe the dually with a plow and sander was number two on his list. Yes. Um, and this is a request that also has an indirect impact, although it will be a direct impact if we decide to move forward with the school. You may have heard the school is now down to one truck that they had actually purchased on their own through their non-lapsing funds. Their other two trucks, which were in excess of I want to say 25 years old, have finally given up the ghost. So the idea with this F-350 purchases would be that the new truck would stay at the DPW, and the old truck would be transitioned to the school. They tend to be able to eke quite a few years out of it because it's not on the road. It's doing localized work up. It's the nature of the work at the school is less demanding on the equipment than what the DPW guys. I'm sure that doesn't come as any surprise to anybody. So that's the thinking there on the first F-350. And the second one, like I said, was a bit lower of a priority, came in at number 5 on his list. Um, Moving on, Town Hall parking lot, MS4 retrofit. We consider this every year, and is another one like the lights where these costs continue to go up pretty highly, pretty aggressively. But we've all been in the town hall parking lot. They've patched it. I think it's all patch out there at this point. But this is on there at least to prompt the discussion. Library heat pump replacements. had quite a bit, and I haven't been super close to this, but Nick has quite a bit of troubles at the library relating to their heating system. And this is in there to get some of the units replaced as needed. The final item here, groundskeeping tractor. This is a school item. Believe it or not, this is to replace a 1986, yes, 86 Kubota tractor that the school has limping along right now. Um, Long overdue on that one. The hallway locker painting has been removed. The school from the town capital list. They're pursuing some grant related funding that may be used to do that, depending on other priorities. The NEASC accreditation body is coming in the next couple of weeks, and that's something they've brought up in the past. So the school continues to wrestle with that one, but they're hoping to be able to handle that in-house between either non-lapsing funds or grant related funding. Moving on to the bottom of the page, the transfer
Can I just
page.
interject 1 minute, Bill, please?
Sure.
On the heat pump, library heat pump replacement, that $38,000 I feel is way undervalued. Um, the the heat pumps are 32 years old. There's multiples in that building. I don't even think that is maybe 20% of what needs to be done in that building for heat replacement of those heat pumps. So just keep in mind that number is far from accurate. Thank you.
Yep. Okay, so to the bottom of the page, transfers for folks who haven't been on these calls in the past. Once again, transfers typically move into from the it's general fund money that is put over into the capital fund for very specific purposes. A great example is paving. So we typically try to put historically probably somewhere between $600 and $800,000 a year in paving. That allows the guys to get out there and get after some of the roads that are in rough shape. Um, Probably one of the of many sad stories from last year's budget cycle. This one was cut down to $150,000 last year in an effort to get the budget passed. Putting in at $750,000 returns us to more of our historical level and would allow some pretty heavily needed work to be taken care of. Municipal property repair fund. This one has a bit of a history, and there used to be a library roof fund. There were several repair related funds that were existing a couple of years ago. The Board of Finance collapsed this into one. And the idea is that an annual contribution would be made to that fund, and then capital needs could be assessed and funded out of those funds. It could also provide matching funds if Tira were to win grants like she did, for example, on the library roof. This is the fund that Brian had mentioned. Some money had been set aside for the Riverside Lights. I just want to be clear that although something may be earmarked as that money is put into that fund, it is 100% at the discretion of the Board of Finance as to whether or not it is actually used for what it was earmarked for. Similar to how we would handle the fire department capital fund, it would 100% be at their discretion. So last year we had started with $100,000 contribution. I believe 50,000 had been cut from it last year. The next line is the fire department capital fund that we added earlier in the meeting at your $250,000 there. Row number 43 here, reval, that we put aside money every year so that when it comes time to do our revaluation, grand list revaluation every 5 years, the money is sitting in the capital fund and it's not a significant budget hit in any one given year. Little League, many of you some of you may have been plugged in a couple years ago. The group that's running the league right now had some pretty ambitious goals in terms of going through and doing some long overdue maintenance on the fields. They've gone through and done two of the infields over. They've, I believe, also done some irrigation related work. Historically, the last few years, they've been asking for 12,000. In talking to reps from the league, they're pretty comfortable that they can reduce that to $5,000 this year and still hit their mark through fundraising and reducing some of the work they were doing. So their request for this year is 5,000. Typically, what happens on this page when we're looking for reductions is we prioritize the capital items. We move the lower priority items to, if you look over to column K to the right in this spreadsheet, we would drop them into future years, and they'd be discussed as part of next year's budget process. And usually for the more significant items, for the ones that we want to do, typically we think about moving them to leases. I do have the least costs for each of them. For example, on the 9-ton truck, that $287,000 truck can be leased for $52,000 a year. So that's a significant cut. But of course, it's up to the board as to how they want to proceed, or if they just want to leave the capital and transfer page intact for the Board of Finance. Man, I've talked a lot today.
So I guess to speak to the trucks, I'd probably I think they need those trucks. I don't want to cut those trucks, but I think the lease option is the smarter route. That'll put us in a more professional situation to turn these trucks every 6, 7 years. We're going to be spending money on this anyway. The days of keeping trucks for 30 years, especially in a municipal setting, are over. They're not made like they were 40 years ago, you know. So I think I'd like to move to a lease option on all those vehicles for them. Um,
So Nick, would that be the 9-ton and the two F-350s?
yeah, yeah, and then that will allow them to shift that asset to the school. Kind of like you have your cake and eat it too scenario.
Right. So
Um,
on the 9-ton, the 7-year lease cost is 52,149.
yep,
On the first F-350, it's 14,462, and the second one would be 13,422.
sure. And on those lease options, is there and I think Joe's on and he can speak to that. The maintenance PM and or warranty on those trucks, that's on the lease company or is that on us?
Are you on, Joe?
Yeah, sorry. No, that's on us, but also on the lease, we got to stay with the program. To just like you would with another brand new vehicle, and if we break that lease, if we break that, don't follow their program, we break the lease. So, but more than likely, in a way, with us, like Bill says, historically, we will own that truck. It's not like we're leasing it and going to return it or anything like that or
Right.
trade it in. We kind of beat it right to death anyway.
So that's how we've done it traditionally is beat it into the ground. Do you see this
Right.
being a feasible auction to lease and then release every 7 years?
I, yeah, I'd like to say yes, but let's see what the equipment looks like at that time.
Well,
Sometimes it would be cheaper just for us to keep it instead of leasing it and taking a hit on the contract.
Or not
so
some of these, it's really more like we're financing, yeah, lease to own. These
okay,
trucks
so
are
yeah, it's not a traditional lease
right,
then. Like, as
exactly.
I was under the assumption that you would be then turning these assets in.
No.
No, no, that I don't think that type of lease we wouldn't benefit by it whatsoever. I don't think the dent doctor will be able to keep up with it.
Yeah, because an F series truck after you plow with it for 7 years, like there's
There's
not a
not
lot of
much
life.
left to
There's no life left in that.
it.
So
No, no.
to buy that lease out at the end is cost prohibitive and silly in
Yeah,
my
so
opinion.
lease to own would be the way to go. And both of those trucks that are going to be replaced, the utility body truck, we have it's a 2006 Ford with a lift gate and everything. That's what I'd like to replace for
Yeah.
doing road work. But it's
Yep.
still definitely usable, and the school could definitely use it to plow. and to do maintenance. And it's still roadworthy. We still use it every day.
So I guess the next question is, and this is to Bill and Joe, if we want to outright own things, why don't we just bond over 5 years instead of just making a capital purchasement and freeing up cash?
I think it's related to having there's a cost to bonding.
Yes.
And the rates on the leasing is actually pretty favorable,
Okay.
and that's why we've historically gone this way.
Okay. Okay. So are we all in agreement that the leasing of these is a better option?
I think so.
Yeah.
Joe?
Because we're not going to be able to outlay the amount of money for
Okay.
for
And,
three
and Bill,
trucks.
I think anyone in the room, you are the finance guy. What's your opinion on this?
Yeah, I think that is definitely the way to go. And
Okay.
I don't want to speak for the Board of Finance, but that's typically they do have some spirited discussions around this, but typically that's the way they lean.
All right. So let's make that decision now. So I'll make a motion for lease options. Do I have a second?
I'll
Second.
second.
All right. All those in favor, or discussion? Any further discussion?
No.
All righty. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye, unanimous. All righty. As far as this list goes, in addition, I'm gonna table the light conversation to Board of Finance. They can tackle that one. The roller and the chipper are probably gonna come up again in conversation. For those, I'm gonna leave right now. Do we have any other options that we want to look at or pick away on this? All right, showing none. What else do we have, Bill? Anything?
So in order, we have gone through the entire budget at this point, and I would like just a moment to collect some thoughts here and look at what we've done in terms of total changes. So it looks like we have cut 359,801 from the budget. And you guys can see the summary pages, right? I'm going to go through quickly, and if there's a cut that's missing, let me know, because this spreadsheet's a beast, and I always got to make sure that it's properly maintained. So town hall building, we had the $15,000 increase. Fire department's $250,000 cut, which was shifted over to the capital page. So on the next page, we should see that coming back in. If not,
Okay.
I'll have to check all my links. Building official, we trimmed the assistant by 5,000. General services, these are the two changes you made related to United Services and Teague.
Yep.
Reducing United Services and then funding the 2,000 from opioid, and then funding 6,000 of Teague from also from opioid funds. On the next page, adding in an assistant, contract assistant for Cindy in Z planning and zoning. Capital expenditures, this is the effect of moving to leases on those 3 trucks. And there is the fire department money coming back in to the transfer page. I think that catches all of the adjustments that you made.
I believe so.
Do any of you guys see anything that we had done that wasn't captured there?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Yes. The facilities person for Bill Birch.
Ah, yes.
Did we make a motion on that one?
Yeah, I believe so.
Yes.
Yeah, we
did.
earmarked. That's why we took away the 5,000. I think we earmarked 15,000
Oh, yeah.
for
Okay,
6 months,
there.
and then we took away 5,000 of the building official because we're shifting money, I guess.
I think that's this 15,000.
Yes.
Okay. So
Yep,
so
that's
it
what
does
that is.
Yep. Okay. Great. All right. So normally at this stage of the game, what we would do is the board would vote to send the town budget. Let me grab my sheet here. It's the general town budget, the capital and the debt amounts to the Board of Finance. If I could, I would like to just take a minute for me to do some work on my end so that I can ensure that I give you the correct numbers to be included into the motion. So if we could just press pause on the meeting for maybe 10 minutes.
Yeah, we can take
While
a
I
brief
fix-
recess. Absolutely. We'll
Yeah,
we'll kind of just hang out and I'll let the meeting tick away. And I'll pause it,
great.
so to say. And
I'll,
whenever
I'll
you're
be
ready,
back.
just come back on.
All right, terrific. I'll be right back.
Thank you.
Sounds good.
Yep.
Alrighty, I'm back on.
Right.
Okay.
So in summary, can you guys see that summary page? So
Yep.
we've made the board has made a reduction of 359,801. Town building maintainer reduced the grants to the fire departments and transfer to capital. Reduce the assistant building official. The two changes related to United Service and Teague funding here. Add contract assistant for P&Z, moving the trucks to leases. And this is the other side of the fire transfer to total 359,801. So then the budget numbers, typically the Board of Selectmen votes to send the general town budget, the debt and the capital plan to the Board of Finance. Nick, you may want, if you're going to make a motion to that effect, you might want to take down these numbers when you make the motion.
Stand by.
The general, all set?
Yeah, go ahead. I'm recording it.
The general town budget at the would be 8,618,635. The debt,
Stand by. Stand by.
yep.
Thing isn't recording correctly. All right, just give me the numbers on it again.
General town budget, 8,618,635. Debt, 1,395,017.
1 million. Say that again.
1,395,017. The capital plan, 2,144,532. Good.
Okay.
And I will send the previous summary that I had on the screen just before now to the recording secretary to be included in the minutes. I believe we typically include a chart that outlines all the cuts.
Yes. Okay. So just to confirm, the first number was the total budget, correct?
The general town budget.
General town. Okay, and that was 861,8635.00.
Yep.
Second one was debt. That was 1395017.00.
Yep.
And last is capital plan being 2144532.00.
Correct.
Okay. Do I have a motion on the floor, or I'll make the motion on the floor to send this budget to the Board of Finance for further review from the Board of Selectmen? General town budget being 8,618,635, no cents. The town debt of $1,395,017, no cents. and capital plan of $2,144,532, no cents. Do I have a second on the floor?
I will second.
Larry with the second. Any further discussion before we take a vote?
Nope, just good job, everyone. Thank you, Bill.
Alrighty. All
Yep.
those in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes,
Yes. Jeff Bolte, you got a yes on that one?
We lose Jeff.
he's still on.
Yes, he typed in. Okay, so that has moved and it has a unanimous vote, so that's been pushed on to the Board of Finance for further review. In closing, thank you all for your hard work. Thank you all for your time, citizens in the room. I appreciate you being here and being actively involved. That means a lot, even though it's only a couple people. Appreciate your time that you took out today to be more further involved with what we do. I do sure that we'll be talking about this a lot more. And with that being said, do I have a motion for adjournment?
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn accepted. Everyone have a wonderful evening, and we will all talk soon.
Take care, everyone. Thank you again.
Good night.
Good night.